You know, my favorite thing about Gundam is the giant robot asses.
Is it?
Well, they're pretty fun. I like personality. I like the designs of Gundams, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Or any mechas in general. They're just kind of fun to look at. I think that's one big reason I love Gurren Lagann so much, is because they just constantly change it. Like, there's just a billion designs.
Yeah.
While with Gundam, while I love Gundam, it's like, here's the Gundam, and it's going to look the same for 43 episodes, which is fine. It's a good design. And then we have the other things that all look pretty similar.
Yeah.
But they're all good designs, all fun, all chipper. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screen Weens.
Welcome.
Episode 44, I think?
Yeah,
maybe 43, right. One of them. Another exciting fucking Mecha Anime episode. We're going to be covering the 3 Mobile Suit Gundam compilation movies today.
Yes.
But before that, we're going to check in with our dear friend E10 to see how he's been and what he's been up to this week. E10, tell us how you been.
I've been alive. Been kicking along. Let's see. What happened this week?
You watched Donkey Kong Country.
I watched Donkey Kong Country. When I thought Full Moon was like the bottom of the barrel, I hit my lowest low. Donkey Kong Country came around.
God.
And showed me how long 90 minutes can really feel.
Seriously? I was like, what the fuck? I thought Full Moon movies were long.
There was a point when, we had to pause for a second, and I saw,
We had only been watching for, 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Or the first time when we'd only been watching for 9.5?
Yeah, and it was just like, oh, no. Oh, man, that was bad. But, I kind of ended my Full Moon Empire stint this week. It just kind of naturally fell off. I'll probably, still watch some,
But not, 40 in a week?
Yeah, I think I've just about exhausted my energy with that. I think the Reanimator movies were the final nails in the coffin for just right now.
Did you end up watching the third one?
No, I didn't.
Because I know me and Thomas watched Reanimator and Bride of Reanimator, and I really liked Reanimator.
Yeah.
And I'll leave it at that.
I remember really liking Bride of Reanimator when I was a big fan of the first one. I'm still pretty big fan of the first one. I think it's a really fun movie. The second one, I wasn't as fond of as I remembered, but it was okay.
It wasn't terrible or anything.
Yeah,
it just wasn't great.
Yeah, just kind of if you liked the dynamic of the characters in the first movie, you'll probably like the second one, but it doesn't really offer anything else super new. But yeah, let's see. My internet went out for a little bit this week. That's why this is schedule's been a little weird this week. What else? Let me check my diary on Letterboxd. Let's see what else I watched that might have not been part of the movie club. We watched the Death Note live action, the one from 2017. That was bad.
I actually didn't mind that one. I don't know if you read my review, but I'm like, I don't know. I think it's probably because I'm not, the biggest fan of Death Note in the first place, so it's pretty easy to just kind of watch the movie, I guess.
Yeah, I can see your perspective there. I do not share it, though. I am a big fan of the original Death Note, so it's just like, hey.
Hey.
Yeah, saw Promare. That was a lot of fun. I really liked that one. The Day Time Ended. What a classic that was.
What a classic film. And then I saw you did rewatch the Origin films as well for Mobile Suit Gundam.
I did that, and I watched War in the Pocket yesterday.
Man, I know you weren't as fond. I saw you really liked it, but it seems like you weren't as fond of it as me. Because War in the Pocket may be, like, my favorite Gundam.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure what to expect, because I've heard from, like, 99% of the feedback I've heard on War of the Pocket is, like, it's really good, but it's, like, really sad. And then I was talking to Lucero, who had watched it, like, a few months ago, and he said it, like, had failed to live up to his expectations personally, so I was kind of I wasn't sure what to expect going into it, but I definitely did enjoy it quite a bit, so...
Cool. Yeah, I almost rewatched the Origin films, but I'm like, it's been like a month since I watched them, so I didn't end up rewatching them.
Yeah, no, but I'm really glad I did, because...
Yeah, it seems like you liked them all more this time around.
I did. I remember, like, because episodes, like, 1 through 3 have pretty, like, straightforward, simple narratives, but it starts getting, like, a lot more, just fucking filled with episodes 4 and 5, so my memory of those was a little bit weaker, a little bit cloudier, especially since it fades into the original series so well, so I was just like, I'm just gonna, like, rewatch it all, and I'm glad I did, because I felt like it really added to the experience.
Damn, the third is so fucking good.
The third Origin film?
Yeah, the third Origin film. The fucking climax of that assault on the fucking compound.
Yeah, no, I really like that one. Yeah, I'm a big fan. If I had to, like, put those, like, do my top 3 of those, even though I consider it kind of one thing.
Yeah.
It would probably be, like, episodes, like, 1, 3, and 6.
And mine are 1, 3, and 5, I believe, so...
Five's pretty good, too. I really liked a lot of what happened.
Yeah, you gave every one of them a 9 out of 10 except the second one.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you liked the second one more this time around as well, it seems.
I still think that one kind of, like, plot thing with Char and Casval is kind of just very convenient. Very, very convenient, and adds a lot of what I did perceive as plot holes, but it kind of became clear, like, they kind of... Because I'm like, why would... Jumping a little bit ahead, I'm like, why wouldn't they recognize Casval? Like, they've been keeping tabs on him, like, his entire youth. They wouldn't think he'd do this, but we find out in the trilogy, because I hadn't watched that far into Gundam when I had watched the Origin films originally, that, at least Cassilia was aware, so...
Yeah, just a reminder that this episode will be very spoiler heavy for the entire fucking Gundam show, so...
just up until Mobile Suit Gundam, though. Because I haven't seen
original
anything
Gundam
past that.
show.
I haven't seen, like, Zeta or Double Zeta.
Yeah,
or
I still haven't watched Zeta yet. I'm probably going to watch it with Pierre when he gets here, which is tomorrow at the time of recording. Pierre, if he's listening to this, is sitting in my living room right now.
Whoa. Yeah, I started, like, the first episode of Igloo, but I didn't make it very far. I'm gonna be honest, the animation was very jarring.
Yeah. I've heard that.
But it was pretty funny. Like, the first thing one of the characters does is he, like, does this little, like, kickflip over a rail that's on the ship, and it looks so fucking funny. And I'm like, why? Why did they do that? Were they, like, trying to show off? But
look at our sick animation.
I'm probably gonna watch that. I think my Blu-ray copy of Stardust Memories shows up tomorrow, so I'm really itching to watch that. I'm really fighting myself because I want to just jump straight into Zeta, but I want to watch all the side stuff first with the 1 year war.
I might watch all of Zeta first and then go back because I want more Amuro.
No, so do I. Like that, I'm like, oh shit! I want to know what happens to like all the fucking white base characters. So you've
By
got
the
a
way-
little more foresight than I do, because you've seen Char's counterattack and I haven't.
Yeah.
But,
A little caveat for the ratings today. I'm rating the movies based on their Japanese dub, because even though I watched it in the English dub, I know what the Japanese sounds like, and it's much, much better than the English dub for the movies.
I am also going to be giving a general rating for the Japanese dub. But
I'm not gonna just
English.
be like, nope, this is bad because of the dub. Because oh my god, I couldn't stop watching the dub though. It was
neither could I.
such
And
a
you know what's
train
funny?
wreck.
I didn't think all the performances in it were bad. Just a
I
particular few odd choices and a few that were pretty bad. But I kind of got used to Amuro's voice as it went on.
I have an issue. I think that the voice of Amuro, the voice actor does a good job, but I don't like that voice for Amuro. I think
agree.
it's pretty, substantially different to what his character's supposed to be.
Yeah. He sounds really old, and there were points in the movie, I remember, a scene, towards the very end of the third one, where his character's, being, blown away, and he's just ah! And it's just and it's just oh my god.
But, and, I think it's important, I think the English dub is so good because of the series, because Amuro, it's so crystal clear he's a child. He sounds like he's a child. He sounds like he's spoiled. He sounds like he's freaking out because he's a child. And this guy's, the voice of Amuro in the movie is just I'm a child. You cannot do this to me.
Yeah.
And it's just let's not. I want him to be whiny. I want him to be freaking out. I want him to be stressed. And he's way too cool and collected in the movies for the first parts and stuff. It's a bit annoying.
I feel it. Fun fact about the English dub of the series. Amuro and fucking Light Yagami share a voice actor. So the more you know.
Huh.
So maybe when you do go and eventually watch the original Death Note again,
I'll be look, it's Amuro!
Yeah, it'll maybe boost your enjoyment a little bit.
Yeah. Or it'll just be me going, oh man, I wish I was watching Gundam.
Yeah, but in Gundam, does Amuro talk about potato chips? I don't think so.
Maybe in Zeta.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But, yeah.
I've been trying to watch more films with Anton Yelchin because I was a big fan of him, and I want to watch more things he was in. So I watched this movie called Rudderless. And
is that the one that you were posting about?
Yeah, I was whoa! It was fantastic. It had Billy Crudup in it as well. He was the main character.
Oh, okay.
And it was about Billy Crudup's this guy and his son dies, and he goes in this downward spiral, but then discovers his son's music and starts playing it to cope kind of thing, and then he meets Anton Yelchin, who also has issues, and they make a band together. I really like movies where they make a band though, so
yeah.
But I really liked it, and both of them are fantastic in that movie. And I've also restarted my Nicolas Cage binge. I've watched 5 more of his films.
Ooh.
And, actually, I watched this movie called Seeking Justice, which I had heard really bad things about, and I'd heard it was, horribly generic. And, it was pretty generic, but I thought that, 2 leads, Nick Cage and Guy Pearce, were, both pretty, good in the movie. And there were some fun shots, and I thought it was fine. It was much better than I was expecting. I watched this movie called Zondali, which is one of Nick Cage's, earlier stuff, and it's, softcore porn, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be like this erotic thriller, but it's just pretty like gross to look at. Like everything's shot really badly. It's him and Judge Reinhold or Reinhold or whatever his name is, the guy from the Santa Claus, and they're like fighting over this girl pretty much, and it's so dumb. And then I watched this movie that came out last year called Primal with Nick Cage. Where he's like a big game hunter and he captures this like white tiger, and he's on this like giant boat that the government has put like a war criminal on, and then the war criminal escapes and then lets loose all the animals.
Huh.
It's not as good as it sounds. Like it sounds like it could be epic, but it was bad, but it had decent parts.
Oh, okay.
And then I watched two that I actually like really liked. I watched this one called Trapped in Paradise, which I'd heard really bad things about, but it has fucking Nicolas Cage, John Lovitz, and Dana Carvey as three brothers that like go to a random fucking town in Pennsylvania, I think, called Paradise, and they rob a bank there, but then they get snowed in and they're like trapped in the town, like trying to hide the money, and then everyone's like nice to them and it's like, maybe we can't take this money kind of thing. But I don't know, I just thought it was like really funny.
Huh. This sounds like a pretty interesting movie.
Nicolas Cage was like freaking out the entire time, and he was supposed to be like the rational of the three brothers, so it was just a good time. And then I watched one like 12 hours ago because I couldn't sleep, called Honeymoon in Vegas, which is Nick Cage and Sarah Jessica Parker go to Vegas to get married, but beforehand he gets conned into like a poker game with James Caan. And he ends up losing, like, he thinks he'll win no matter what, so he borrows a bunch of money because he has a straight flush. And he ends up losing, obviously. So he owes the guy $65,000. And pretty much he wants to be able to cuck Nick Cage for the money. He's like, let me spend a weekend with your fiance.
Oh, jeez.
And it's very, very dumb. They, like, go to Hawaii, they, like, do a bunch of... It's just very stupid, but I had a lot of fun with it.
Huh. Interesting.
The climax of the film has him back in Vegas, skydiving from a plane onto, like, the Vegas Strip dressed as Elvis.
Oh.
It's just... just a wacky movie, but I had lots of fun, so I'm glad to be back on the Cage binge. After this, I'll probably watch one before the movie tonight.
Oh, nice.
And then I watched a little full moon stuff. I watched this movie called Horror Vision, which was terrible, but it had a cool monster at the end that reminded me of like a Power Rangers like Monster of the Week, so I kind of liked that part.
Huh.
Oh, and then, of course, we watched Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Ah, yes.
And I really liked that movie.
Yeah, it was really good.
And most of the people we watched it with didn't like it, because they were like, oh, there's too much sex in this movie.
Yeah.
And I said, shut the fuck up. Yeah, so that's what we've been doing. Oh, and I started to rewatch Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, the television show.
Oh, nice.
That's one of the only Scooby-Doo shows that really has like an overarching like story.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Throughout the whole thing.
I've seen like handfuls of episodes because like when it was on Cartoon Network, I would like watch some of it, like if a few episodes stacked up on demand or something.
I've probably seen about half the series before, but they were mostly like out of order.
Yeah.
So
this is the one with like the parrot and shit, right?
It's the one with Mr. E.
Is that like the bird?
I think so. The parrot hasn't shown up yet.
Okay, I was gonna say I remember.
And I don't really remember much of it, so I've been rewatching it. I watched the first 6 episodes, though. It's only like 24, I think. It ran for 2 seasons of like 12 episodes each, but I'm really enjoying it. I love Scooby-Doo, and I think that Mystery Incorporated, even from what I've seen, is probably like the second best show. The first being What's New Scooby-Doo.
I recently downloaded all of Scooby-Doo Where Are You? So I plan on watching through that. Just kind of like to kill time, like as a background kind of show. So I might eventually watch through all the Scooby-Doo stuff. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I'm trying to balance like Lupin, Gundam, and a couple other things right now, so...
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, I have like just a couple things that I do. I'm like, okay, when I watch a movie, it's either for the podcast, it's for our daily movie club, it's for fucking, it's Lupin, it's Nick Cage, or it's Full Moon.
Yeah.
I'm like stuck.
Yeah, you're like, shit.
And then what's gonna happen is I'm gonna finish Nick Cage, and I'm gonna finish Lupin, and I'm gonna be like, well, what do I watch now? I've finished all the movies.
You move on to Detective Conan after Lupin. See if that...
And I move on to Willem Dafoe after Nick Cage.
Yeah, you gotta pick someone who's got just, like, such a large body of work. Like, watch every film Roger Corman ever produced or something.
Oh my god, do I want to die? He has 264 producing credits on Letterboxd. Literally, like, I can name you right now the movies I want to watch that he's done, or that he produced. House, The Mask of the Red Death, which he also directed, The Pit and the Pendulum, which he also directed.
Yeah, he did a lot of those stuff.
Slumber Party Massacre 2, to be exact, Suburbia, Forbidden World, and the 1994 Fantastic Four movie.
What? There's like this movie, I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, and The Big Bird Cage. I want to watch by Jack Hill.
There's a movie he made with like Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson, like in between shooting one of his Edgar Allan Poe movies. I can't remember the name of it, but supposedly it's like really awful.
I've heard not super great things about like a lot of the movies he directed. Like I know he's made good stuff, but like he's also probably made a lot of terrible stuff.
Like, The Terror is the name of the movie I was thinking of.
The Terror?
Yes. Yeah, he's made horrible stuff, like the original Little Shop of Horrors. Movie's awful.
Little Shop of Horrors. It's not as bad as Donkey Kong Country, The Legend of the Crystal Coconut.
Yeah, that's true.
My pick today will be 3 watches of Donkey Kong Country, The Legend of the Crystal Coconut.
I would quit. Just stop. I'd be like, no.
My pick today will be the entire series of Donkey Kong Country.
Oh, no. No.
Just kidding, I don't want to do that. Because the thing is, I would have to watch those as well.
Yeah. I don't think I'd be able to do that. I was barely able to watch that movie last night.
I mean, I could do it. I just hate myself. I don't think I could do it in like a week or, well, I guess we're going to be theoretically recording in like 4 days or 5 days, and I definitely couldn't do that.
No.
Oh.
Oh.
If we're still doing our trilogy stuff after this, my pick, if the Trilogy. I don't think you've seen any of these movies, but I think you'll be happy. I hope.
Okay.
Because I think at least 2 of the 3 have Bruce Campbell.
2 of the 3 have Bruce Campbell. I might know what this is.
Well, we'll find out at the end of the episode. So stick around.
I have to ponder that in the back of my mind while I talk about Gundam. All right.
Either that, I'll probably give you a choice at the end.
Okay.
And one of them will be terrible.
Oh boy, is it the one with Bruce Campbell that's terrible?
I'm not going to tell you that.
It probably is. That man. I love that man, but he's not in very many good things, sadly. Okay, he's in a
lot of good things. He's just also in a lot of
things
bad
as well.
things.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk. We do have some questions from Pierre from a couple days ago.
I figured.
So let me go find those. Okay. 1. Do you have any email newsletter that you are subscribed to but never actually read? Are you like me and can't bring yourself to unsubscribe from them? I mean, I do have random things sent to my email that I got from, like, signing up for a website that I just never unsubscribe from because most of those things go to, like, not my primary email, so I don't really care.
Yeah. I've definitely got, like, newsletters and stuff I've signed up for to keep me, like, updated on stuff that I don't follow anymore.
Like, my non-primary email has thousands of unread emails that are probably mostly that shit.
Oh, yeah. It always finds a way.
Do you prefer YouTuber to make a creative or playful bit about asking you to subscribe and like tell your grandmother? Or do you appreciate a dull yet honest direct approach? I do not care in the slightest, actually. If I like the content, I'll subscribe.
Yeah, I think if it's like, if it's something that's consistent and it takes up like a decent amount of time, like let's say someone spends like 30 seconds at the beginning of every single one of their videos telling you to subscribe, it makes it a bit easier to swallow if they make it like comedic. Like I'm less likely to skip through it if that's the case. But I'm also kind of like on the same page that you are, where overall I don't really care.
Yeah.
So.
And hold on, just drinking a little water. Drink
Okay.
a little Wawa. Number 3, do you prefer a villain with a tragic past that led them to being evil, or do you like a villain who just happens to enjoy being bad?
I think it's a case-by-case basis. Like, it depends. There's a lot of other variables besides just their kind of backstories that I feel can make a character an interesting villain or not. Like, is it a character who's just like, yeah, I'm evil for the sake of being evil, but there's, like, other factors that make it more interesting? Like, trying to think of, like, a good example. I don't know.
Like the plant from Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, like, it's just, I mean, theoretically, you could just be like, it's trying to survive, it's doing what nature wants it to do, but, yeah, like, I think Char is a really good villain. Like, I found myself trying to find Char's line a lot during the trilogy and, like, throughout the origin.
I know that Char, like, in general, isn't really, like, the villain in all of the series and stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously he's the antagonist in the first one. But I think just in general, I prefer antagonists to, like, straight-up villains, I guess. Like, I prefer, like, a sympathetic antagonist that or even like in general, like if you look at The Force Awakens versus The Last Jedi, in my opinion, Kylo Ren is very obviously the like antagonist of The Force Awakens, but in many ways in The Last Jedi and in The Rise of Skywalker, he's like they're just dual protagonists. They just happen to be at opposing forces at times. Mm-hmm. And I think in a lot of Gundam, Char is not even necessarily like the villain, but just another protagonist, I guess.
At times. There are definitely times where he does strike that villainous chord, though.
Yeah.
Obviously, things involving Char, like, he just straight up, like, swapped with Char, knowing that Char would be assassinated in his place, and then he later went back to the Texas colony. This is all in the Origins, by the way, not in the shit we're discussing today. But he goes back and then blows up his, fake identity's parents on the plane as they're, like, on their way to go see him again. And it's just, like, he does a lot of villainous things throughout where...
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially in the Origin films.
Kind of thing. What?
He's, like, especially in the Origin films, he, like, does stuff so that he can plant his, like, foot in, like, this stronghold to make him, like, a powerful contender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's literally murdering innocent people in their Origin films.
Yes. Although he doesn't... not off
he
the top of my
doesn't really
head.
Pull the trigger, but...
Yeah. Not at any point in the original series, can I think, where he just, like, murders, like, someone who I would argue is undeserving of it that I can think of off the top of my head.
There's a part in, I think it might be the third one, the third Origin film, where Char, like, stabs a guy with a shovel. Remember that?
Yeah. That's
an awesome part.
That's the fourth one. It's when he first meets Lala.
I feel like once he meets Lala, he mellows out. He's like, okay, maybe I need to stop being a psychopath.
And Lala was one of the things I found, like, really interesting when I was, like, trying to figure out Char, and then it got to the scene
it's like, and even when he's with Artasia, it's like, when he's alone, he starts becoming insane.
Yes.
But if he has, like, an anchor, he's, like, that's when he's more of, like, the dual protagonist, when he has an anchor. When he doesn't, then he's like, now I'm unhinged.
Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, so with that, you just want to start talking about these?
Let's talk about... Okay, so...
I realized we were still answering Pierre's question while simultaneously talking about the show.
Yeah, that's great. You know, we're great at answering questions.
Yes.
So, as another little thing, if I was to rate the series in general, I would give the series a 10 out of 10. It's one of my favorite series right now. It's my second favorite mecha. In general, I think Gundam, as like a whole, is probably like my favorite thing in anime right now. Because it has, you know, obviously Gurren Lagann is my favorite, like, singular anime, but there's not as much of it, and there's so much Gundam that I haven't watched yet. But these movies, I did not give a 10 out of 10. But I just want you to know, I want everyone to know that I fucking love Gundam.
Yeah.
Alright, so Mobile Suit Gundam. Number 1. What's the name of this one?
What wasn't it just like the Gundam? It might have been. Let's see, Mobile Suit Gundam 1.
Oh yeah, it's just 1, and then 2 and 3 have subtitles.
Okay.
All right. So Mobile Suit Gundam 1 starts out in Universal Century 79.
Yep. And it begins by just kind of describing the background of the war that's been going on leading up to the beginning of the story here. And in a nutshell, basically, there was this guy named Zeon Daikun who is the father of Artasia and Casval. He was assassinated by his closest allies, the Zombies, who then took over and created this, like, militia that's very, oh fuck, I'm blanking on the term that I want to use. Nazi-like, fascist. Like, it's a fascist regime, pretty much. They propagandize new types, which is something that we'll discuss more in depth as this goes along.
Yeah, probably not really until the second or third movie.
Yeah. But, basically, so they wanted to declare independence from the Earth Federation, but the Earth Federation was like, nah, we're not going to do that. So they dropped a colony on Earth and, like, wiped out over half of humanity, roughly.
Yeah. And the big deal about that is it didn't work.
Yeah, they were going to drop it on Jaburo, which is like the Earth Federation base, but they hit Australia instead.
Yeah, it literally broke into 3 chunks and missed its target. So they took out like 4 billion people.
Yep.
And then they still had to go to war.
Yeah. And basically, all of this is going on. The Zeon have developed mobile suits that can fight in space, which is like a huge jump from like the mobile suits that they had been using for just basically...
Before they were just like service workers just for like moving rocks and shit like that.
Yeah. I think that they had some like on the ground police use as well.
Yeah, well, like they had gun tanks beforehand. We see those in the origin films, and we see a gun tank in here. One of the main friends of friends, I say.
One of the white base family crew squad, whatever you want to call them.
Is Hayato the one that's usually in the gun tank?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because fucking Kai is in the whatever. What is that one called?
I don't know what that one's called.
I'll look it up. You keep talking.
Okay. But anyway, so basically, while all of this is going on, basically Zeon's making these advancements, and over on side 7, which is over on the opposite side of Earth's orbit from Zeon, there's a colony there where Amuro Ray and his father, whose name is what?
It's the gun cannon.
The gun cannon, okay. What's his father's name? Like Tenrei or something like that?
It's Tenrei, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Tem? It might be Tem. It's Temrei, I think?
Okay.
Yo. Man,
what?
Thinking about his dad. Oof.
Yeah.
Big oof.
But basically, Temrei moved there to work on a mobile suit for the Federation, and Amuro was, like, dragged along, and his Amuro himself kind of faces a lot of, backlash from the society there, because they think that him moving there has caused a lot of, like, obviously, military conflict there. But, so that's kind of where our story begins. Basically, a couple of Zaku's drop down onto side 7 and are scoping out their bases to see what they're making up. But one of the Zaku's gets a little
antsy.
Yeah, gets a little antsy, a little glory hungry, goes, I can end this here and now, and goes and starts attacking this Federation base.
There is a good line here where they're like, you're gonna be arrested when you get back. You're gonna be court-martialed. And he's like, heroes don't get court-martialed.
Yeah. But he basically goes down. And while all this is going on, we meet our other, like, main protagonists who we're gonna be traveling with for the rest of the series / movies. We meet Amuro, who I've already explained who he is. We meet his friend, Frau Bo.
Man, Frau Bo got fucked over in these movies.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see, like, how her because I'm definitely going to go back and rewatch those last 10 episodes.
I'll say it now. One of the big issues with these movies is, like, outside of, like, Amuro and Char, it seems like practically every other character just gets kind of fucked with, like, their characterization. So I think as a whole, the show's really good at, like, making every character seem like a well-rounded character.
Yeah. The point in which I was like, whoa. Because I had, like, I literally just was like, that felt like it came out of nowhere, was at the end when, I don't know the guy's name, I never bothered to memorize it, because he showed up, like, right as I stopped watching, like, the full series, and he wasn't very in these movies a lot, but the guy who comes... What's his name?
Was it Woody?
It might be. I think that's it. But the guy who comes on for, like, the tail end of...
Yeah, Woody.
Is it the tail end of the second movie or the beginning of the third movie? Might be the beginning of the third movie, now that I think about it.
Woody was the one that was engaged to Matilda. My bad. What was his name? The one that slaps.
Yes, slaps Mirai. And then it turns out, like, they reveal, spoiler, jumping ahead a couple movies here, but they reveal that, like, Mirai has feelings for him. I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? Because I don't remember that being even built up in the series from when I was watching it. It might have been, and I just might not have picked up on it. It's, like, barely hinted at. It's, like, a small thing, but then he just kind of shows up. And he has some interesting scenes, but then he just kind of leaves as well. And I'm like, what? I mean, based off what I remember him being like in the series and based off what he did here in the movies, he basically shows up, hits people, hits on women, and then, spoiler alert, dies. So I didn't really feel much for his character. Fuck was his name?
Sleeger,
yeah, that's what it was. He even sounds like a sleazy guy just based off his name.
There's so many stupid parts of this dub. Like, instead of calling it the Principality of Zeon, they call it, like, the Duchy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I understand that Duchy and Principality are, like, similar in, like, when you get down to it, like, they both kind of work, but Duchy is, like, stupid. It's a stupid word. Don't use Duchy. Yeah. Unless you're playing the board game Dominion, don't use Duchy.
Yeah, they kept calling, like, I'm used to calling her Cassilia, but they were calling her Cassiria, and it was like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know if that was, like, the intended translation with that one, but...
Yeah. Oh, did you hear? They kept instead of saying Char Aznabal, they just kept going Shaw, and then they would go like Znibble, or they said his last name like super dumb.
Yeah, and I can't remember. They didn't. I think it was Zaku's that they were calling something else. I think they were calling him like Zeeks or something like that.
Something like this dub is so. If you watch these movies, like, you can watch the dub. They're, like, fun to watch in, like, a really bad way. But definitely, like, the superior version is the Japanese. Which is surprising because I would actually say I probably prefer the dub for the series.
Huh.
I really like the dub for the series.
I actually really liked one of the final lines of the movie, the third movie. But then I, like, looked around, and it's only in the dub. Like, it's not on any other version of this ending I could find, which is where he's, like, the whole, like, look, Dad, I grew up. It was painful, but I'm glad I did it. I was like, I kind of like that line. And I was, like, looking for it on, like, the other versions. I'm like, oh, it just doesn't exist. Okay, great.
Oh. Okay, so let's continue on. So we met Frau Bo.
Yes.
We met Amuro, and we also meet Hayato, who's like kind of one of Amuro's best friends, but he's kind of being a little bitch when we see him first right here. He's being like, "Oh, I'm Hayato."
Yeah, I don't really like the Ray family because they bring a lot of military conflict here.
Which is different from the series. Like, he's fine with Amuro in the beginning.
Yeah, he's just kind of like, he is hesitant, but I don't.
He's like he's friends with Amuro though.
Yeah, I remember that part, but I don't remember him being like, "Oh, I don't like Amuro." It's just kind of like, my mom says I gotta go or whatever.
I think they made him more of a loner in the movie, when in the series he's like, he has friends. Like, he's still a loner. He just wants to. Also, they don't really introduce fucking. What's his robot?
Oh, Haro?
Yeah. Haro just kind of is there. He's just kind of on the ship. I don't think they introduce him at the beginning. It's very strange. Haro just shows up in one scene.
I think he's there when Frau first shows up. Frau Bo.
So they start evacuating, but then...
Meanwhile, this is going on. We see that White Base, which is this new ship, and we see, we've seen, scenes of the Federation talking about it, and basically, White Base and the Gundam are, the two things that they're like, yes, these are the things that are going to carry us really far in this war. Send it to Side 7. And when they do that, the White Base gets followed by a couple Zeon ships, which we find out Char is on one of those. Or it might just be the one ship. I don't know.
You mean Shaw?
Shaw. But basically, White Base gets to Earth. On White Base, we meet Amuro's dad, who is... Or did I say gets to Earth? I meant Side 7. Whoops.
Yeah, Side 7. Which Side 7... So the big deal is Earth... The people that are fighting Earth is the Principality of Zeon, which is Side...
3.
3? Yeah. And then... So it's like this giant fucking capsule in space where they live. And then there are other... Side 7's the last one, right? Or was there a Side 8?
I think Side 7 is I might be mistaken here, but I think it's the closest to Earth on the opposite side.
It's one of... Yeah, I just meant numerical value. Is there an... It's... So Side 7 is where Amuro lives, but there's a bunch of other sides still. At least a few others. Some of them are just completely decimated, like the one they fucking launched at Earth.
Yeah.
But Amuro, we're met with his dad, who's on White Base, and he's like, "We gotta load the Gundams up!" And Amuro currently is in fucking... They go into this lockdown place, this bunker, and they're like, "We'll hide here." And Amuro's like, "I have to go find my dad."
So he does, and then his dad's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Get to White Base." And then while this is going on,
Noah Bright shows up.
And then also, Frau Bo, she's like, "Amuro," she comes down, and then, an entire, pack of civilians just gets fucking hit and dies, including, her mother and grandfather, I think? I don't know, her family.
Her mother and grandfather, that's what she specifically says.
Yeah. So... she loses her family, and then Amuro's like, "Go to the White Base, I'll catch up with you." And then
he goes because Noah Bright had told them to fucking load the Gundam parts up, and he's like, "Fine." But then he gets in the Gundam because fucking the Zakus are attacking.
Yep.
And he's like, "That's it. I'll just kill him."
This part coming up I'm glad I finally kind of got it cleared up. For the longest time, because... Okay, a bit of my history with the series. I've started Mobile Suit Gundam, this is probably my fourth time watching, this beginning bit here. Because I watched it. I started it like once, and then I like started it briefly again after I watched like the origins for the first time, and I got like to episode 10 right after like the thing with Garma happens, and then I like stopped, and then like about a year ago I rewatched through the origins again, and then I watched through the majority of the series and I stopped, and then obviously just now I watched through the origins again and then watched through the movie Trilogy. But every single time I've watched this, I've always been like, what the fuck happens to Amuro's dad here? Because it happens like so quick, and there's really not much to like describe what happens, but like I remember like the first time I watched it, I'm like, Amuro's dad dies because like Amuro shoots a hole in the side of the colony and his dad just literally gets sucked out. And then when I was like rewatching it like a year or so ago, I got to the part where like he met his dad again, and I was like, oh, his dad's alive, but I didn't get to the part where he found out his dad was fucking insane. So I'm like, what the fuck? Did his dad not get sucked out of the hole in the first episode? But I'm glad to finally have some fucking clarity with this part.
Yeah.
It's caused me so much confusion for so long.
So you wouldn't have that confusion if you watched it all in like fucking 4 days like me or whatever I did.
Yeah. I might as well have finished it last year when I like went through it. I don't know why I didn't. I was just like, I'm Gundam out.
Gundam out. Okay, so yeah, his dad gets fucking sucked out into space, and he like shoots, and he does end up like, he has some trouble doing it, but he's able to adapt to this giant mobile suit like very quickly. Like obvious, you're like, what the heck? How's this kid doing it so fast? But he like annihilates these suits because Gundam in general is supposed to be like way more powerful than their other mobile suits. So he literally like annihilates them.
Yeah.
At one point he runs out of bullets, so he like rips the fucking front part off of a Gundam. He just like grabs it, he's like, ah!
But yeah, so he defeats those two Zaku and gets on board the white base where everyone is trying to get out. Well, there's also like, while this is going on, we meet some of our other side characters. Like we meet Kai, we meet Sayla, we meet Mirai. But basically, Sayla and Frau, they both decide like, oh, we're gonna go look for civilians. And this is a point where we see Sayla meet Char for the first time. Yeah. And I think she reveals it here. I think she calls him the B word, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think she calls him the B word in specific, but she goes like, what? Was that Casfall?
But yeah, she sees her brother, their brother and sister. They're the son of that Daifun guy who I was talking about at the very beginning.
Yeah, so he's the like original guy who ran the Principality of Zeon. I'm not going to call it the Duchy.
Yeah, but was assassinated.
And he wanted, like, yeah, he was. I mean, and I know I've talked to Pierre about this. So the way that they show him being assassinated in the original is that he has a heart attack, and people are convinced that he like was poisoned to have that heart attack or something like that. Yeah. And Pierre's like, after watching Gundam, Pierre's like, there's a chance that he could have just actually had a heart attack.
Oh yeah, like he was. I mean,
like they were obviously like pretty power hungry, the Zabi family. Yeah. But they might have just used this situation where he actually just had a heart attack for his advantage.
Yeah, I could buy that, especially given how we see him in like the beginning of like the origin film when they like do that bit. He's like, it shows a little bit of his life the night before, huh?
It's not looking too great.
Yeah, he's super paranoid. His wife, quote unquote, tells him to like go to bed and he's like, what? I can't sleep. And you can tell he's been up for days and he's just super stressed out. So I could see that being a possibility. Although I also find it very likely that the zombies did kill him. I don't know. Maybe, because it seems like, what's the name of the old zombie?
Daikun's, what the fuck is his name? Hold on.
Dagon or something like that?
It's Dagon Zombie, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Daigon Zombie.
Yeah. So him, I don't know. Maybe I could see him not poisoning him, because he is out of, like, all the zombies aside from Garma.
It's Degwin Zombie.
Yeah, Degwin is, like, the second most peaceful zombie.
Like, well,
maybe
Degwin,
third.
So, like,
it's Giran and Cecilia who are particularly bloodthirsty.
Giran is... There's a part in the third movie. They do this in every adaptation. They say it in the origin films, I think, as well.
Yeah, they do that,
They
too.
say that Giran's like Hitler. And
Hitler, Napoleon.
He's literally trying to start, like, a holy war.
Yeah.
He's like, let's start a race war. And I'm like, what the... Cecilia is also kind of crazy.
She's just notch down from Giran, or maybe 2 notches to her grade.
Maybe 2.
That's
like,
just
she at least
show how
cares about her
is.
family.
To an extent. I mean, we see that, like, in the origin
she
film. She
cares at least about her dad.
Yeah, her dad. Because she says that she thought, like, Char killing Garma was very funny. And she obviously killed her one brother in the origin movies.
Yep. She literally only cares about her dad. Maybe Dozel. Dozel's probably, like, the most peaceful of all of them. He's still, like, a war criminal, but especially in the origin films, it shows that he has a lot of empathy.
Yeah. I'd say the ranking probably goes, like, Garma for most peaceful, then Dozel, Degwin, Cecilia, Giran.
Giran's a psychopath.
Yeah, Giran shouldn't be on this list at all, but...
Giran is, like, on a separate list.
Yes.
There are, like, 25 invisible places between Cecilia and him. Okay, where were we? So he annihilates these Gundams, and then he gets onto White Base.
And then... he gets on White Base, and then...
In this Gundam. Meanwhile...
Char also gets onto the White... Or he gets into, like, the colony.
Yeah.
And starts, like, flying around, and he gets on to take pictures of the White Base. Like, he's going around with a camera.
And then
I think
Sayla
it's Bright
sees him.
Who shoots the camera out of his hand. Someone shoots the camera out of his hand. He's like, damn it. And then...
It might have been Sayla, because isn't this where he takes off the mask?
Well, what happens is he takes off the mask, and, like, Sayla has this little confrontation, and then he, like, kind of, like, flies away and hides behind a rock or something, and then Amuro meets up with Sayla, and then that's when he flies into, and then they're like, oh shit, we gotta get that guy. So then they chase him, and then that's when they're, like, leaving the side colony, because they're, like, exiting at that point when they chase Char out, and then he gets to his he gets over to his little ship that he's stationed at, and he orders some new Zaku's, and then he gets in his own, like, fancy red mobile suit and starts, like, booking it towards the White Base. And while this is going on, the captain of the White Base was, like, injured pretty badly. Like, they got shot while he was...
literally, like, dying. And he's like, well, Bright, you're in charge now.
And Bright's he's only, like, what, 22? He's only been in it for, like, 6 months. Oh, he's 19?
Yeah.
Oh,
and that's another reason. Like, Bright has, like, a pretty deep voice in the original dub for the series. Like, he sounds like an adult, but he sounds, like, convincing enough that he could be, like, pretty young, like 19 or 20. But this one, he's just, like, I hate his voice in this one. I don't know why he's British. I don't know why he's British, but also it's just like, it doesn't sound like he could be young.
Yeah.
I hate most of the supporting cast voices. Like, I'm fine with Amuro. Sometimes I'm fine with Charles.
I thought Amuro... Like, really, the only, like, big ones where I was like, oof, like,
Sayla.
This is, like, was Sayla. To the point where I was, like, distracted while watching it. Was, like, Sayla, Bright, and...
Yeah, it's mostly those two.
I think it was just those two who were, like, the major disturbances. The rest of them, while I thought were very corny and not, like, the most accurate depictions of the characters... I thought were, whatever, like, watchable. I didn't have a super hard time with them. But, I definitely see why people fucking hate this stuff, though. Apparently they didn't even include this dub on, like, the Blu-rays they released.
The re-releases of
ago.
This movie have never included the dubs, apparently.
It's like, damn.
Like, only the original VHS, and, like, you can find it online, but, like, have it.
Huh. But
the copy I watched was at least of the second one, was, like, a transfer from the VHS to, like, a Blu-ray set, like, disc, to online. It was very strange, because at the beginning it had the VHS previews play. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Weird. I also know that they did, like, 2 Japanese dubs of these movies, because I know that there was like a remaster, and they, like, a lot of the cast came back and re-recorded a lot of their lines.
Nice. And I think they do change. From what I know, I think in the remastered, there's a couple changes. Like, a couple people have different voice actors. Yeah.
Okay. Huh. But to finally maybe progress a little bit further, so basically, Amuro.
We're going to be talking about this longer than the 3 movies are. We're going to be here for like 7 hours.
Yeah. So, basically, like, they finally get the, like, camera communications thing and the Gundam to work, and they see that it's just Amuro in there, and they're like, what the fuck? What's this kid doing in there? Get the fuck out of there. And then they're like, oh shit, Char's coming. Well, he's the most competent one in that machine right now. I guess send him out to fight these Zakus in space. So they send him out into space, and he fights Char for the first time. And obviously, like, Char is much better than him, but the Gundam is, like, very overpowered and can take a lot of damage. So Char has to, like, retreat because the other Zakus start getting fucked up, and he's like, shit. So he goes back, and then Gundam gets onto the white base, and basically Amuro meets the bridge crew face-to-face for the first time. He meets, like, Bright, Mirai, and all of them. Kai's, like, standing in there. Yeah. And basically, like, the first thing Bright does is basically tells Amuro to get his shit together and become a better pilot. He's like,
okay, and he's like, okay, you're the Gundam pilot now. And Amuro, from the very beginning, he's not as, like, against it from the very beginning in this, and that's another reason I don't like this Amuro. Because, like, from the very beginning, he's like, what the fuck? I'm not gonna do that in, like, the series dub. He's like, no, I'm not a soldier. No, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But in this, he's like, okay, for, like, the first, like, around where episode 5 ends in the series is, like, around when he starts, like, being like, I don't want to anymore in this version.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I really don't like the way that they set up, like, Amuro's character arc in this very much either. Also, like, because I'm going to bring this up now. God, we might be better off if we just make this a general discussion instead of a plot synopsis. But
yeah, that's probably what we're doing.
It's pretty much what we've been doing up until this point, so...
Here's the highlights of the plot of the first movie. Just real quick highlights. So after this point, they go into space. Amuro's the fucking dude. He has to be in this Gundam. He fights Char once again in space while everyone else is getting the shit beat out of them. But eventually they're flying around. Eventually they'll be going to Earth.
Yep.
They're gonna be fighting a couple of times while in space, though.
Including one time while going into Earth's atmosphere. Once they land on Earth, they get into another fight. Yeah, because they were planning on landing on Earth's Federation base, Jaburo, which is where they were planning on dropping that colony in the very beginning, but they failed. But like Zeon, White Base fails to properly land on Jaburo, because Char kind of fucks them over with his strategy when they're going into the atmosphere, landing them over in Zeon territory. So they kind of have to fight their way out, including they fight the youngest of the Zabi families, Garma, who Char kind of sets up behind the scenes to secretly betray and assassinate here by basically lying to Garma about which way White Base is and sending them on a
suicide mission, pretty much.
Yeah, basically he's like, oh, they went that way, and then they go that way, and then White Base just shoots them down from behind. Not before Garma can try to turn it around and turn it into a kamikaze attack, though. But obviously, White Base escapes at the very last second. And, oh god, I hate that they cut out this next arc, because I feel like this next arc is what really cemented, like, Amuro being, like, traumatized, which is Garma's girlfriend, and her, like, attempt to get revenge for Garma.
She's just, like, I don't know why they included the girlfriend in the movie.
Yeah,
like, if they weren't gonna...
Because it's, like, it was pointless. They just show that scene of her, like, they build it up like they're going to, and then she just cries. They show the scene where they're like, oh, Garma's dead, and then she cries, and that's the last we see of her.
And what happens in the series again?
She basically, like, I don't remember, like, the specifics on, like, how she got her hands on, like, any of the Zeon equipment, or if she went to, like, the Zabi family behind the scenes or something, but basically she launches her own, like, revenge attack against Amuro, and basically, like, commits suicide in front of him. After, like, basically saying, like, the only reason why I'm doing this is because you killed my boyfriend, and now, by extension, you killed me. And that, like, that's what kind of, like, launches, like, his, like, super depressive state where he's, like, staring into nothingness. And where his, like, brain functionality is really low, and he starts really having, like, the PTSD. But they leave that, like, whole arc out, and instead decide to, like, cover the first part of the Ramba Ral stuff, which I feel like if they had just pushed the Ramba Ral stuff all for the second movie, it would have been much better, because it's like they just start his story with about the same amount of time that it would have taken them to cover the girlfriend's part of the story. And then, of course, then just in the second movie, we get, like, the rest of Ramba Ral stuff, like, in the very beginning. And then it goes on. And that's probably my biggest complaint about these movies, is it doesn't feel like they try to set it up with, like, specific narrative points that feel like they would be good wrap-up points. It just feels like they're like, let's make it about 2 hours and 20 minutes and just fit as much of the story as we can into these 3 2-hour and 20-minute movies.
And, like, the thing is, I do think that the editing is pretty strong for compiling them together.
Oh,
like,
I agree.
It flows really well.
I think for the most part,
it doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think for the most part, they do a pretty, like, decent job for being compilation movies. Like, there's only, like, a couple major things that I'm like, I wish they would have, like, maybe done this a bit better. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel like they could totally, like, if they were to go the route that they did with, like, The Origin, and they wanted to do, like, fucking 6 1-hour movies remaking this series, I feel like they could probably... I feel like they need more than, like, 6 hours, but They did
how long is the show? It's what? Fucking
like
probably about 24 minutes per episode, and it's 43 episodes, so it's fucking 17 hours long. They should just make 17 1 hour long.
Well, I don't necessarily think that every single thing that was in the original series like needs to be like remade, or if they were to do it, like I think that they could leave a lot out. Because as much as I love the original series, a lot of it, not a lot of it, but there is some of it that definitely does feel a lot like filler. Like it's just kind of padding. I don't
necessarily agree. Like, I understand that it may be, like, filler to some, but it adds so much to each character to me, and I think that that's, like, one of my favorite parts about Gundam, so I don't see it as filler, I just see it as, like, character growth. But I get it. Anyway, they go to Earth, Garma attacks, he dies. He gets wrecked, but right before Char, like, reveals it to him. When I was watching the original series, I just finished the origin films, I was so
the first time it blew
shocked
my mind.
Because this was episode 6, and they kill off Garma, and I'm like, what? Because they built up Garma so much. I thought Garma was going to be, like, the last one to die.
Yeah, no, so did I. Like, I was like, oh, they're, like, he's going to, like, progressively get better as he kills off the rest of the zombies. Or something, but no, not at all. He's the first one to go. And it's like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. If following, like, because Gundam, like, it's very, like, anime, but it does have, like, a sense. Like, it feels like it operates to a certain extent on real-world logic, which I like about it.
Yeah. Especially the movies, apparently, the movies were meant to be more realistic. Like, they took out, like, the Gundam doesn't transform in the movies.
Yeah.
Or the transformation sequence, like,
in
the show, it's just the core fighters can, like, fly into each other, turn into the Gundam kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
In this, it's like the Gundam is the Gundam.
Yeah. They make the core fighter, like, its own thing.
Like, the core fighter, I think, is part of it, but it's not just, like, a simple thing of transformation.
Yeah. Fuck. So, he kills Garma.
And then Gihren, they see this big television thing where Gihren is using it pretty much as a propaganda point.
Well, we get the first encounter with, like, Rambaral before that, too. Because that happens, like, right after the Garma stuff, as they start the beginning of the Rambaral with, like, the first attack, where, like, Amuro is basically, like, sleep-deprived out in the Gundam trying to fight him. And then he ends up, like, fleeing, and then they, like, get on the white base, and they're like, oh, Amuro, watch the speech from Gihren, where Gihren basically is like, they killed my brother, so we gotta create the superior race. Yeah, yeah, I probably, like I was saying earlier, I would have probably just pushed the Rambaral stuff to the next movie. And it, but
they introduce him. I'm kind of fine with them, like, having this fight and kind of, like, introducing him to be like, this is gonna be the next big guy. But
I feel
Rambaral is also, like, destroyed way sooner than I thought.
Yeah,
because Rambaral is, like, one of the main characters of the origin films.
Oh yeah. And he's pretty quickly done with in the series and the movies. But yeah, so the second movie... What does the second movie begin with? It's
well, hold on. No. The first movie ends with Amuro seeing his mother, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that does happen. Like,
which is, like...
Right after, like, the Rambaral stuff, or right before. Yeah, he goes to visit his mother.
And this is, like... The stuff with his mother and father are, I think, like, so fucking good.
Yeah.
So his mother, it shows like a flashback where his mother, him and his dad are leaving to Side 7, and his mom's like, sorry, I don't want to go. She's pretty much just like that. She's like, I can't leave Earth. And she's like, but I love you. And Amuro's like 12 or something.
I thought he was a little younger than that.
He's probably 10, 8 maybe. It's been a while, but he shows up on Earth and he goes to this town and he shows up at his mom's house and there's just a bunch of like Federation forces like dancing around in there and like drinking beer and throwing it at the walls, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? This is my house! And he's like, where's my mom? He's like running around, Mom! And he can't find her. And they're like, sorry, this place has been abandoned. So he's like running around. He sees these soldiers being mean to this woman and like not paying her for their goods. So he tries to fight them and then he gets the shit kicked out of him. Because I do like this scene in particular because it shows that just because he's good in a Gundam, he's still like a child. Yeah. And he can be beaten up by adults pretty easily. But it turns out this woman was like the mother of one of his friends growing up who had unfortunately died in like the wars. But she tells him that his mother is volunteering at this refugee camp. So he goes there and he sees his mom.
And things are pretty alright, but the camp gets like regular daily inspections from Zeon forces, and then basically there's this whole sequence where they like are in a cabin and he's like under a blanket trying to hide from them, but his communicator goes off because Whitebase is trying to get back in touch with him. So as one of the Zeon soldiers goes to like uncover him, he shoots the Zeon soldier and then like tries to shoot
through the blanket.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I do like this scene. I think it's done pretty well in all of the dubs, like the original Japanese version and this. He's like kind of just like, he's like hands are shaking as he's like holding the gun, like staring at the last guy, and the guy like runs out and his mom's like, Amuro, no! And Amuro's like just in this like bloodthirsty mode. He runs after the guy and tries to shoot him.
Yeah. And, basically his mother scolds him. The people at the camp are like, oh great, we're gonna like get blamed for this and have to deal with the repercussions. And then like Amuro's mother is basically like, you're not the boy I raised. The boy I raised would never kill a person. He's like, don't you understand, Mom? It's war out there. They would have shot me if I didn't shoot them. And she's like, yeah, well, at least you wouldn't have shot a person. I'm ashamed that you're my son. And he, like, freaks out and, like, runs away crying. And then, like, before he departs on, like, the white base for good, she basically, like, comes over and gives him kind of, like, a final goodbye. And she's like, are you sure you want to go? You know, you can stay here. And he's like, as much as I would love to, I have to, like, protect these people on this white base. And then Bright basically goes...
And Bright's like, he's cool!
Yeah.
And then he steps up.
Yeah. They go to space and immediately Bright is like, fuck you, Amuro, because these movies don't know how to, like, handle these character transitions very well, because they'd rather go to like the main points instead of capturing all the in-between stuff from the original episodes. But basically, like, out of nowhere, he's like, we can't let Amuro pilot the white base alone anymore. And then Amuro's like, what the fuck? Why not? I'm like the most qualified here. And then he's just like, it doesn't matter. You're being too spoiled. So Amuro, to prove how unspoiled he is, decides to steal the Gundam and run away.
And then this is at the beginning of the second movie.
Yeah.
So that was... They go on, end of the movie, beginning of the second movie, Amuro freaks out. I don't know what it is, but the scene in which Amuro's, like, asleep on the chair, and it's Brighton. Is it Mirai? I think it's Brighton Mirai talking about how Amuro can't be the pilot anymore. Like he's going to relieve him for now.
Yeah.
And Amuro wakes up. The scene in which they see him and it like slowly zooms in on him, like across the hallway, is just the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's just so dumb looking the way they zoom in on him. I don't know. It's probably just me, but I think it's really funny.
Huh. I don't recall it, so I must have not found it very humorous while watching it.
Oh, I don't know what it is. It's just really funny. I think it's just like, I think that eyes, especially in like early animation from far away, like not early animation, but like 70s and 80s, how they're just kind of like dots or they're like not really there. I think they just look really funny. So when you zoom in on a character, but he still looks like that, it's just funny to me.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But yeah, so Amuro runs away and he like just kind of parks in a random desert. And he starts walking around because he's like, I'm thirsty. And he eventually wanders into a town.
Finds a bar,
sits at the bar, and then like 5 seconds later, Rambaral and fucking like...
his squad comes in.
Rambaral, his wife, and 12 fucking squad members come in.
And basically, Hamon, who is Rambaral's wife... she offers to buy Amuro a meal. He gladly declines. He's like, oh, no, thank you. And then they kind of like banter back and forth, and Rambaral comes to the conclusion that it's like, hey, this kid's pretty cool, pretty legit. And then fucking Frau comes in, and she... obviously is being hassled by the Zeon soldiers because she's wearing like her Federation shit out in the open. And then Rambaral reveals, he's like, all right, Amuro, I know you got a gun underneath that you're pointing at me. Because Amuro had been pointing a gun at Rambaral like underneath a cloak that he was like wearing. And then he's basically like, look, I'm going to let you go this time. Because I think you're a nice kid, and Hamon here has taken a liking to you. But know that on the battlefield,
we will not meet as friends.
He's like, all right, thank you, sir, and he leaves. And then Rambaral goes, okay, follow them. So, he has people following them. And then Amuro, basically, splits up from Frau at a certain point. He's like, alright, Frau, I'm not going back to White Base, fuck you. So she goes back to White Base and lures the fucking Zeon over there. And then they start attacking White Base, and Amuro realizes, he's like, oh shit, I'm the only one who can defeat Rambaral. So he goes back and he fights Rambaral. And It's not this battle. I can't remember. Do they is this the final battle, or is it split up into two more battles?
This might be the final battle. Anyway, there's only one or two battles between them.
Yeah.
And eventually he destroys Rambaral's mech, but Rambaral swings out with a rope right at the last second and hides. And he's like, aha, they'll think I'm dead. I'll wait until nightfall.
Oh, yeah, that's what happens. And then he eventually, winds up, sneaking onto the ship and attacking. And during all this, he's planning on, blowing the ship up. But he comes across, Sayla
/ Artasia.
Huh?
I said Sayla / Artasia.
Yeah. And he recognizes her because the Rawl family took in Sayla and Casval, or I guess not Sayla, fucking Artasia and Casval, right after their father was killed, and was very involved with their escape. So he's very familiar with Artasia, and he's like, what the fuck, you're still alive? And then he winds up getting shot as, I think it's Ryu who shoots him.
I think so.
But yeah, so he ends up taking a kamikaze dive right onto, Amuro's hand when he's in the Gundam.
Big things this is one of the big changes that I did notice. Because they change how they redraw his death.
Okay.
Because in the original series, he dies the same way. He jumps into fucking his arm. It's just a different shot. It's the same thing, but it's like it's a more high definition shot, and it's an up close of the hand itself. It doesn't show it, like the hand. It shows him jump out the window and then explode. Yeah. Like you just see the remnants of the explosion in the series.
No,
so I thought that was pretty strange. Pretty interesting though. It's a good shot.
Yeah, I didn't notice that, so I was trying to figure out, because I was like looking at the movie and I was like, I bet they've added.
I'm like, I don't remember that shot, so I literally just looked up Ramba Raw's death.
I figured they had reanimated some stuff, because I'm like, obviously, like, they're adding, like, credit sequences and ships of, like, shots of the ship flying.
The shit of the shots of the show.
Shit of the shots flying. But shots of, like, white base flying through the sky that they'll, like, put credit sequences over. I'm like, alright, I highly doubt that the original series had, like, that much unedited footage of the white base flying in this one specific area. So they probably animated this for the movie, which led me to wonder how much they had animated in a whole. But yeah, pretty interesting. So basically from that point they head towards Jaburo. Let's see, kind of scrolling through.
They do get into a fight with fucking Ramba Raw's wife, Hamon.
Yeah, and
she gets destroyed.
Yeah, basically there's like this whole arc where like immediately Amuro comes back, and like after he defeats Ramba Raw, they put him in the brig until he fights Ramba Raw, like the time when Ramba Raw kills himself. That was a bit we skipped over. I just wanted to touch on real quick. And then Hamon eventually comes back. And then Ryu was hurt during the Ramba Raw like stuff, and he ends up like sacrificing himself to save Amuro when Hamon was coming back to avenge.
He got fucked in this movie too, because Ryu, I really liked Ryu in the series.
Yeah, but Ryu didn't get very much exposure in these movies.
Nowhere in this, he has like 2 lines, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm dead." Which is funny, because one of the purposes of the movies, from what I read, was to make the deaths seem more meaningful. And I'm like, you can't do that when you put a 17-hour anime into fucking 7 hours. When you take out 10 hours of character development, you lose the meaning of so many characters.
Yeah, I can't think. There's only one death that hit me while watching this, and it was a death that I hadn't seen before. Which, I'm sure you could probably guess whose death it was.
Yeah, Kai's girlfriend.
Yeah, that really blew me. No, I hadn't seen that in the series. In fact, there was a point during the Origin movies, because I had forgotten about that part, and then when, like, Kai showed up for the first time, I got, like, a cold run of sweat down my brow, and I remembered. I'm like, oh, shit. That happened. It made me sad for a little bit, because I'm just like, oh shit, that was a sad part.
Yeah, that's like, I fucking hated Kai in the original series. Like, he was just really, like, annoying, but I like annoying character. Like, he's annoying. I like to hate him, but that really, like, humanized him, that episode. Or, was that
I always described him as, like, Gundam's Corcus up until that point.
Yeah, but, like, Corcus, like, at least as far as I've gotten in Berserk, like, unless he somehow just, I'm not gonna any spoilers for Berserk, unless somehow he redeems himself, which seems impossible.
I will say there is no Corcus redemption. So.
Okay, because I'm like, it seems like there could not be, but I don't know how crazy Berserk gets. Yeah, Corcus is like the worst.
Yeah. For sure.
But is Kai's stuff, is this in this movie?
Yeah, it's the second movie.
And that's kind of now, right? That's about this part?
They meet Rebecca first.
Rebecca?
Isn't that her name?
Matilda?
Matilda. I don't
I was like, who the fuck is Rebecca?
I don't know. I don't know where that name came from. I guess just similar amount of syllables, same name, right? Anyway, Matilda. Yeah, they meet Matilda, who is basically part of the Federation forces. She shows up and basically will like give them supplies and help them out every so often along the way. She's a lot more developed in the series. Like, I remember feeling a bit more for her character when her time came in the series, but it happens pretty quickly in the movies.
Yeah, it's just the movies go by too fast.
Yeah. I think there's
even
like
if you took out a I don't think there's a lot of filler in Gundam, even if like you're looking at the episodes that you consider filler. I don't think there's a lot of it, so it's really hard to fucking...
When I say like filler and padding, I don't mean necessarily like stuff that isn't like shouldn't be in the story. I just mean like just the way it's presented is very slow going.
Yeah.
Feels like if they were to do a modern adaptation of the story, if with modern pacing, they could cut down the runtime and cut out that padding and shit. It's like the same thing with like Dragon Ball Z versus like Dragon Ball Z Kai.
I might like it less if it didn't have that padding though. I like the slow pace of the show. Well, but I get it. But even then, like, at most, or at the very least, I feel like a modern version would have to be like 12 hours. Yeah, like 7 hours is just so little.
Yeah, like I'd still want them to like leave a lot of this shit in. Like I like a lot of like the extra shit. Like one of the main things I was sad to see them take away from like these earlier episodes when they're like on Earth is like all the citizens on the ship getting really testy. Like I remember really liking that aspect and thinking it was very realistic. If you have a ship full of civilians that is just being dragged from battle to battle, but they don't like focus on any of the citizens at all, aside from like the ones that just become part of like the crew. They're just like, oh yeah, they're part of the ship, I guess. They'll like, they even like would show bits of like people like popping their heads out of like their rooms and stuff. And I feel like they wouldn't have even needed to put very much of it in there. Like just a couple scenes of like angry mobbish type behavior from the people. And then maybe like a couple lines where it's like, oh, the fucking people on board are getting testy, you know, but they completely left out like that little chunk of plot. But
yeah, and that's where like some of the realism loses me. Like I feel like the movies lose that sense of realism because a bunch of stupid shit doesn't happen, and stupid shit happens in real life.
Yeah, it does.
Like that. But they do meet Matilda. Does Matilda get wrecked? Matilda gets wrecked.
Yeah, basically.
And then Kai meets Miharu, I think.
They don't happen. I don't think those two happen at the same time. No.
Well, I meant Matilda dies. And
Matilda
then
dies during the same. Oh fuck! So Matilda dies during the Hamon shit. She dies the same time Ryu does.
Oh, she does. Okay, so yeah, they meet Matilda. Okay, then after that.
Yes, then after that, they're dealing with, I can't remember the name of the guy, but Cassilia's like henchman.
Oh yeah, he shows up in the movie for like 2 minutes, it seems.
Yeah.
It's like McQueve or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
This colonel guy, He has purple hair. That's literally all you need to know from the movies. He has, like, more character. He doesn't have, like, a ton of character in the show, but he shows up a decent amount. Like,
they also, like, give him some stuff in the origin movies. Like, they show that he's got, like, kind of, like, he's got, like, an appreciation of, like, Earth culture, and that's why she sent him to, be on Earth, because there's, like, that scene where they're going through, like, the space museum and looking at all, like, the fucking
but
shit.
It seems like
he's like, this is a
he
copy.
just shows up in this and then dies.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so basically after Matilda and Ryu die and they deal with Hamon, they go to that town where they meet that girl who Kai ends up having a thing with, and she turns out to be a spy. She's got like a little brother and sister that she like is basically like
she's only being a spy for Zeon because she like wants a better life for her brother and sister, because she's like the same age as Kai. She's like a child trying to take care of her kid brother and sister. And Kai knows Kai like doesn't really care about White Base.
No, not really.
Like at all. And
even
he
like
lets her spy on them.
It felt
so
like he had a pretty
nonchalant
attitude about White Base.
I think he becomes more empathetic to others, but like the military and White Base as a whole, he's just like, fuck, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. But basically, so she sneaks on board White Base, and she's like giving like information to Zeon, and then like basically there's like this whole little arc that happens in the show. It's very quick in the movie though, where there's like a spy who gets on the ship that she's like basically like giving intel to, and he's like on a cargo plane that like leaves off the White Base, and they're like, Kai realizes this, and he's like, oh shit, the spy's getting away. So him and her chase after this spy, and they wind up getting him, but at the cost that she ends up like sacrificing her life, because she has to like go into the back and like hit like a kill switch on something, but she ends up like getting like sucked out and blown up. But yeah, so basically this is where Kai has this like little moment where he basically like spills the beans about like what happened with this girl, and how she died to basically like make up for what she did and save White Base. And I feel like that's probably like, I don't know, I guess it's not the reason why Kai sticks on White Base, because he went back to White Base before he found out the girl was like following him there. But I like to think it's the reason he stays on White Base.
Yeah. But his like sadness moment is pretty good in this. And then
it feels very quick though, because they quickly cut to like what I'm assuming is many episodes ahead, where his demeanor changes a little bit, and in the next scene he's just good old, Amuro, I see that you're working too hard.
Hey Amuro, you fucking cunt.
Yeah, like shit like that. But yeah, so that happens, and basically, the rest of the base is like at Jaburo. They're getting shit that they need. They meet Revel. A lot of them get like promotions. There's like this whole plot line with the kids that is, I'm thankful that they cut most of it out, because holy shit, I hate those kids.
I love those kids.
I hate those kids. They're my
apparently
least
one
favorite.
of them is like one of the mainer characters in one of the series. Like they're older, like the older version of them. Like they're like Amuro's age, and they're like, or maybe not one of the mains, but they're characters later on.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Every time I see them, it reminds me of like the Frosty the Snowman cartoon.
Yeah,
just the way they walk, and every time I see them, I'm just like, look at Frosty go.
But also while on Jaburo, they meet Matilda's fiance, or who was her fiance. I guess he's technically not anymore, because she's dead. But don't worry, because it's not long that he has, because it turns out that Char is there, and there's like...
It's in his little submarine.
Yeah, he's got a little submarine. He's putting bombs on all these like mobile suits that the Federation has, but the little kids find all the bombs.
The little kids fix it. The little kids are great. They save the day.
Oh, I'm so glad that it was written like that. And that the Gundam universe would have been fucking doomed if not for these children. But basically, yeah, they like fucking find all the bombs, throw them on a car. Then Amuro ends up driving the car into a fucking like big hole. I don't know, they're like in some underground caves. Just off an edge, and then it blows up, and then Char shows up and starts like... He tries to convince Sayla to come with him, but Mirai like stumbles across the scene and starts like shooting at Char. And then Char kills Matilda's fiance.
Yeah, who showed up, and he has some good scenes in the show. He's kind of not super great in the movie. He's like fine. Yeah. He was like, she was doing her job. I don't blame you for anything, Amuro. And like that's kind of an important thing to Amuro because he was blaming himself for the death of Matilda.
Yeah. That whole arc is very just like snap, snap, snap in these movies, though.
It's because it involves a character that's not Amuro.
Yes. So, even though it's directly related to his art.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, is so many of the other characters are like directly tied with Amuro's arc, like so many of their arcs. So when you just breeze through their arcs, it's just like, well, now Amuro's characterization is just changing rapidly for no reason.
Yeah. But basically, Amuro and Char have little fisticuffs in the Gundam and Zaku's here. And
they do.
While all this is going on, they get a replacement for Ryu, who is this dude who immediately begins hitting on Mirai and Sayla. And his name is Sleeger? Is that what it was?
Sleeger, something like that?
Sleeger. I'm just kind of like scrolling through the movie here, and I forgot how much I actually fucking loved this shot. For as much as I was shitting on how much I hate these like children earlier, there's like the part where they like the one gets his mouth freed and he goes over and he starts like chewing on the ropes to free the other kid. I thought that like part was really funny just because of the look he had on his face.
Yeah, I feel it.
He's just got like this demonic look on his face while he's like gnawing on these ropes. But basically, yeah, so they have a little battle, and yeah, they leave Jaburo after that because they get another mission where they're basically going to a real space battle. Or kind of. They're acting as a diversion so a real space battle can happen. So, yeah, they head for space at the end of this movie. They leave Jaburo and...
Yeah, they're pretty much the plan is that White Base is like pretty much the main thing that the Zeon forces are like focusing on, so they're sending them on like a wild goose chase pretty much.
Yeah, because basically like the White Base and the Mobile Suit have been like the main thing. They're like, yeah, this is carrying us super far, so while we distract the Zeon with that, we've got a bunch of shit just cooking in the background, which you don't really see in this series. It's just like a line they say. I don't know if you see it in like the original series or if it was just like the movie, because to be fair, from this point on is like pretty much where I experienced it through the movie for the first time. So this is where I lose a lot of like my perception of like if the series did this better than the movies. I'm going in with the assumption that that is always going to be the case when I ask that question. The series will probably always be an improvement over the third movie, if I had to guess. But I won't know for sure until I rewatch these last 10 or so episodes whenever I go through the series again. But basically, yeah. So
is that end of episode, or does he meet Lala end of?
No,
or is that just all in the?
That's all in the third movie.
Okay.
So basically, the third movie begins with like them going to the neutral colony in space.
Yeah, which is side 6.
Yep. And here we find out that Mirai has a fiance that
she had like mentioned it.
Yeah, she mentioned
sometime
it
in movie
briefly.
2, but she was like, it wasn't really like we didn't really want it kind of thing.
Yeah, but basically, yeah, she was engaged to marry someone. It was like a family proposal kind of thing, but then like her dad died and the war started, and she wanted to like fight in the war, but her fiance was very afraid of the war, so he went to a neutral colony to basically like protect himself. And Mirai saw that as okay, obviously like this dude has no interest in me, so whatever, I'll just move on with my life. But then he shows up here and starts trying to rekindle that love, but it's not met with any sort of mutual agreement. It's basically her going like, yeah, no thanks, dude. And then like there's like a scene where Slager like punches him in the face and tells him that he needs to like act more respectable towards Mirai. And the whole time I'm really interested to see how they handle this in the show compared to the movies, because I felt like there's really no resolution for this in the movies, but I really wanted to see more of like Bright's character arc surrounding Mirai, because it's obvious that he's very interested in Mirai.
Well, like, I don't think they really... The Mobile Suit Gundam, in general, like, as a show, kind of ends on this, like, ambiguous, like, they're okay, but we don't know what's going to happen note.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if,
but
like...
I know Noah Bright is in Zeta. I know that for sure.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, I'm not sure, like, what we find out about these characters, like, after
like,
the fact in the
I
future.
know what happens to those two.
Okay. Don't spoil it for me. But
yeah, I'm not going. But like, I only know that like as a passing thing. Like, I don't know like what they do or anything. I just know like one thing about them.
Okay, because I know like they build it up like Bright's going to eventually like ask Mirai out and shit, and then they have like this whole arc where he gets a little bit angsty when the fiance from side 6 shows up. And then, basically, we find out, like, there's, like, a whole... So, basically, they're on side 6 for a little bit. Let me just get side 6 stuff out of the way really quick, because they're really not there for super long. Basically, Amuro finds his dad there and finds out that his dad has had, like, his brain fried from oxygen deprivation out in space. Like, his dad, like, gives him, like, this...
he takes him to a junkyard. He's like, this is where I work now. I build things out of this. It's a great source of materials. And he gives him like a box that's just made out of junk, being like, this is a new upgrade for the Gundam.
And Amuro's like, oh, okay. And then he leaves. He's like, yeah, my dad's fucking batshit. So he just like leaves, and then he gets back to White Base, and let's see. Oh, yeah. Side 6 is where he meets Lala and Char. So basically, like, he's, like, when he's out, like, basically dealing with the aftermath of finding out that his dad has gone insane, he meets Lala for the first time. She's basically just chilling, and they, like, share a telepathic link while watching a bird. And then he kind of goes up and starts asking her some questions, and she talks about how sad it is that all things die and what a terrible, sad world they live in. And then she, like, runs away, and then his car gets stuck in the mud, and then her and Char show up and help him out. And basically, Char is, like, super nice to him in this scene. He's like, oh, you know, I can tell you're scared, you know, shouldn't be so obviously afraid. Chill out, dude.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not gonna kill you in, like, just bright daylight, you know? It's like, I'm not gonna, just because we're enemies in space, I'm not gonna kill you right now. We're in fucking neutral territory.
Yeah, and this is the first time they meet face to face, and
yeah, and he knows Char's name, but Char doesn't really know his name yet. Like, he'd heard it. He's like, Amuro, how do I know that name?
But, yeah, he pretty quickly puts the pieces together that this kid, but lets him go. Basically, he's like, all right, now I know what you're like, Amuro. Next time we meet on the battlefield. So, basically, while this is going on, Zeon is basically saying, like, fuck it, even though this is a neutral zone, it's slanted in Zeon favor. So, they plan on basically, like, attacking White Base while it's here. So, they leave. And then, as they're leaving the neutral zone, White Base, like, gets out, like, slightly before the Zeons do. So White Base, like, shoots down some of their ships and begins, like, escaping and starting their decoy mission. Let me catch up with where I'm at here. Basically trying to remember. Mirai's ex-fiance offers to escort them out. And then Mirai is basically like, no, fuck you, I don't want you to come along. And then Slager ironically slaps Mirai and tells her that she's not being fair to him now, which I disagree. I think that if she feels that way, she's totally...
I like Slager because he just seems perpetually wasted. Just the way he, like, looks and talks, I'm just like, is this guy okay?
Yeah, I see what you mean. But, yeah, basically, they're prepping for their big space battle. Real big one's coming up. We get some insight into Char. He basically, like, there's some scenes where we find out, like, Lala is basically, like, in love with Char. It's a very, going to Naruto. It reminds me a lot of,
Sasuke.
No, not Sasuke.
Rock Lee.
Zabuza and Haku, I think was his name. They're, like, the first major villains that they, like, fight in Naruto. Very much a similar kind of relationship where it's, like, you know, they view themselves as kind of, like, useless, but even though they're being, like, used by someone who's obviously just kind of using them for their abilities or talents, that, they're okay with it, because at least, you know, they're serving someone kind of deal. So she's got feelings for Char, but Char, he says he feels nothing romantic for Lala, but I don't think that's true. And based off his reaction when what happens later happens, I think that kind of proves it. But, basically, they're prepping her for, like, this... They've got, like, this new machine that they've been building that can be piloted by new types. We haven't talked much about new types yet. So new types are basically...
think of them as... You live in space for so long, you become the next level. You pretty much evolve. They're kind of an evolved state of human. Think of them having a force connection with robots. They're just able to adapt to things a lot better, at least in this. I know, like,
they're also
I
able
know
to have like
that they get kind of crazy in later series.
Yeah. There's also like a certain degree of like telepathy and
especially between Lala and Amuro.
Yeah, they
and
both
Char.
kind of have this like new type awakening that happens in between the two of them. But basically, Lala is like piloting this new machine that's designed specifically like for new types, and she fucking wrecks in it. She just absolutely causes havoc. Like, she's killer in it. Does a great job. And Char is working under Cecilia now, because he's been kind of like laying low since Garma's death. Because obviously Degwin and what's his name? The not so gentle giant.
Dozel? Did we fight Dozel yet?
No, Dozel is like not the final battle, but like basically like the second to last final battle before like the death beam and shit like that happens. Basically to this fight that's about to happen here. 'Cause I'm pretty sure he goes in the same fight that Lala does. 'Cause spoiler alert, if you haven't gathered that based off our oh-so-subtle contextual clues that we've been dropping so far, Lala dies. Basically, she gets into a battle, and, like, she gets in the middle of, like, a battle between Char and Amuro, but Amuro's been, like, linked up to her, and I really like this. It's really sad, because you can tell that the two of them are, like, just exactly what the other needs. Like, and they're so, like, they're both just so happy to have met each other and like, yeah, this is great. But then Lala's like, yeah, except this is not great because it's only going to end in fucking sadness for, like, me, because we have to be enemies. And I really like the whole sentiment of like, maybe we weren't, or if only we could have, like, met some other point in time, some other way. And then, like, Amuro is like, maybe we were destined to meet this way. Like, I like that kind of, I don't know. I really liked it. I watched it all for the first time yesterday, so I'm still processing a lot of this stuff. But, basically, there's, like, this skirmish, like, Char is about to take out the core fighter that has Sayla in it, but then Lala basically lets Char know. She's like, wait, no, don't. That's got Sayla in it. And he's like, oh shit, I can't kill her. And then,
oh fuck, that's like the one person I don't want to kill.
Yeah.
I'll kill everyone else.
Yeah, so he avoids killing her, and then Amuro, like, goes in for the kill with Char, but then Lala, like, intercepts and then takes the hit and dies. And then Amuro is obviously, like, just like, oh no, fuck, I've done, like, the worst thing I've ever fucking done. Which, I don't know if I can really, I feel like there's not, I feel like it's not fair to compare a lot of, like, the shit Amuro's done. But I can see why he said that, considering, like, how he felt about this person.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically Char immediately is like, oh shit, I've lost the will to fight, and just, like, flees. He's like, fuck this. His spirit's absolutely fucking broken, and he's sad that Lala's dead. And then, so is Amuro. And then, Dozel dies in, like, the same battle.
And then we get into, like, the last battle.
Yeah. Basically, Degwin is rushing over.
He's trying to go sign an armistice.
And yeah, he wants to negotiate peace before Girin basically just obliterates even more of the final.
And Girin is the only person that knows this. Degwin had told him. And Girin's like, what if I kill my dad? And he does.
Yep. Basically, like, right as Degwin shows up to negotiate peace, Gurren releases the death beams. And, yeah, it's basically just this giant cosmic ray of light that'll travel across the galaxy and take out whatever is in its path. And, yeah, basically takes out, like, the main chunk of the Federation, and, yeah, it's basically like Zeon has won the war, essentially. Like, Gurren stands on top. Federation,
but
good luck fighting back from
Amuro
this.
shows up.
Huh?
But then Amuro shows up.
Yeah, but basically Amuro, who had, like, basically predicted the light, he had, like, a little vision, and everyone on the ship kind of heard it before it had happened, and then basically confirming, hey, Amuro is a new type officially now. Because there's been a lot of, like, skepticism up until this point, because most people in the Gundam universe don't even believe in new types. Specifically, Gurren doesn't believe in new types, which is funny because he's the one who has been spreading all, like, the new type is, like, superior propaganda for Zeon.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so basically Amuro lays it out for them. He's like, look, even though, like, they just, like, fucking annihilated most of the Federation, their side is very weak right now, and considering that we're a crew of, like, new types, pretty much, we can take them out. Because, yeah, we've got, like, the advantage. So, yeah, they basically launch an attack on the... I don't... Is this the capital of Zeon? I don't know, like, where they are when this final battle happens.
They're at some big spaceport. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
But
so basically, yeah, they launched this attack on the spaceport.
It's not necessarily, like, the capital, but it is where Gurren and Cassilia are.
Yeah. And it's not long before Cassilia assassinates Gurren. She just kinda...
This sequence is longer than in the series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so in the series, if I remember correctly, she just shoots him. Like, she doesn't say anything to him.
I kind of like that better, because I had the thought...
She just, like, shoots him, and I think she shoots him in the back in this, in the series. But in this one, she's like, I know you killed our father. And he's like, yeah, so what? He's pretty much like, what? So what? I'm the leader now.
Yeah.
And then she shoots him in the back of the head, and he, like, flies. And the death in this and the death of Cassilia in this are a lot more brutal than in the show.
I kind of figured, and I love Cassilia's death in this.
I was like, what the That was like, what the
It caught me so off guard, but the second he, like, jumped up and, like, just had the fucking, like, rocket launcher in his, like, over his shoulder, and she's just like, huh? It's like, you're so dumb for not expecting that.
But, so she does kill him, and he, like, flies and, like, hits the ceiling and just kind of sits around dead in zero gravity.
Yeah, and basically, quickly, Gurren's men are like, okay, hail Cecilia.
Hail Cassilia. Yeah, and meanwhile, everyone else is just fighting. Char's, like, literally all he's doing is flying around looking for Amuro.
Yeah, and then he
finds him. Kill Amuro.
And they fight, and, like...
They wreck both their Gundams, pretty much.
Yeah, like... It seems like Amuro's basically, like, guaranteed to win at one point, because the Char is just ahead, but then, like, Char shoots out, like, a little laser beam, and, like, takes out, like, Amuro's main camera, so he can't see. And, yeah, both machines are just absolutely fucking demolished by the end of it, to the point where they, like, get out and start engaging in a hand-to-hand combat. And when they do this, Sayla... Is it Sayla who shows up? I don't... Hold on, let me go through this. I'm trying to remember here. They're fighting... This is the part where they're fighting.
I believe it's Sayla.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think it's Sayla who shows up, and she's basically...
The thing is, like, because she can like feel it. She can like feel that they're fighting with their new type powers. By this point, it's pretty. By the end of the movie, you're like, oh, so like everyone's a new type.
Yeah, pretty much everyone on the white base it's implied is. But yeah, so Char and Amuro are fighting. Sayla shows up and like kind of is like, this isn't what, like, you two should get along. You two would be best friends. Stop fighting. This is stupid. Lala wouldn't want you to fight. So they kind of just come to the conclusion, it's like, alright, yeah, we're kind of on the same side. Lala wouldn't want us to fight. Let's stop. So, they stop, and basically Char goes to finish off Cecilia, and then, meanwhile, Sayla is basically just like one of many characters who is basically just trying to survive on this ship. And Amuro basically like stumbles over to the Gundam, and he's like very close to death seemingly, and he's like, how do I help my friends? And then Lala kind of like gives him some advice, and she's basically just like, just talk to him, help him out. So like Amuro one by one talks every single member of White Base like out of danger and out of the ship, and then they're like all there, and they're like, where's Amuro? You know, he's the one who like helped get us all here, and they all start to worry. But then the kids, they're like, don't worry, Amuro's coming, we can sense him. And then Amuro's Gundam like floats out of one of the things like right as the spaceport begins to explode, and he floats over to the ship, and he's basically like really happy, and he apologizes to Lala because, like we kind of lightly touched upon earlier, she felt like she didn't have a family, she didn't have a home, anything to really fight for other than Char. So it's like, that's kind of like her reason for being in the war, and he's like, I've got like my family to go back to. I can be with you like at any time, Lala. So he just basically floats back to White Base, and that's the end.
Yeah, well, we did the part with Char. We should say how Char actually kills Cassilia, because we alluded to it. We said that he shot Joe's up with a rocket launcher, but
yeah,
he fucking waves to her and then shoots through the front window of the ship, and it shoots like before it explodes. It hits her fucking head off.
Yeah,
and explodes. And I was like, that was not in the series.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that clip in the series where he kills her.
I don't
I'm really
think
curious
it was. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure he shoot like it's the same thing. It just explodes. It doesn't like shoot her head off first.
Yeah, and I can clear like it was
makes probably sense like that. Way too violent for the show.
Yeah. Damn. I remember, like, my jaw dropped at that part, though. I was like, oh, fuck, that was awesome.
But I really like pretty much the entire last sequence in both the show and the movie. Most of the movie does it pretty well, of them without their Gundam, like, kind of floating around in space, arguing, fighting with fucking swords and shit.
Yeah.
There's some really strong stuff in the last parts. And... you know, overall, I did really like the movies, I think. Like, I liked them. It's just, like, the whole time I'm like, God damn it, this is not as good.
I probably would use the same, like, sum up that I would have, like, the Berserk movies, even though I do have, like, I feel like there's probably more positive for me to say about the Berserk movies, because at least, like, those were, like, new animation. Whereas this was like a lot of then
there's like more stuff afterwards in the third Berserk movie.
Yeah. But like I think like if you're looking for like a very abridged version of the series that you can like go through in a day, this is like the version for you, you know?
But even then, I don't know if I would agree with that, because like it changes the character of Amuro so much for me. at least early on, that it really loses a lot.
I feel that.
No, but I still would probably agree with that. It's just annoying because I think the movies could have been better, like a lot better.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I do really want them to do a remake of 79 eventually.
Live action.
No. I want them to do them in the same style that they did the Origin. I want the whole team
live
that they had
action
for
and
the
I can
Origin.
play Char. That'll be great. Live action and I'll play Char.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Char Aznavour.
Oh, yes. But,
And the son of whatever the fuck his name was. I'm going
Zeon
to get my revenge. Zeon Daikun. That was my dad.
I think he's got, like, another part to his name that I'm forgetting, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Or else I'd say it.
Something Daikun.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is I don't know, like I got the most enjoyment out of the third movie since that was stuff I hadn't seen before, so it was just like, whoa.
And that has the most added to it, like multiple of the battles in that are added.
Also, we forgot to mention this. Slager died.
Slager did die. He at least has more character in the series. I never really liked his character, but I like some of his inclusions, but he just kind of dies. Yeah. In the movie, he's just like, Bup. He's like, I show up, I slap a woman, I leave and die.
I show up, I hit on women, I slap a man, then I show up, I slap a woman, and then that woman hits on me, and I go out and I die. Like that's his whole character arc in the movies. It's just like, oh, great, wonderful. Yeah. I'm trying to think of like what I would rate these.
Yeah, it's really hard because most of my enjoyment comes from the fact that it's Gundam. I still think that they're good. Yeah. Like, I think that they're well crafted. I think that they're too rushed through because of their length. It makes some of them feel really long, like more than 2.5 hours, because of their kind of breakneck pace at some points. Because they're just squishing, they're condensing down so much stuff. It, like, feels like it's not stopping ever. Like, there's no room to breathe at certain points, so... But they're edited really well to the point that the transitions between episode and episode are just, like, really seamless.
Yeah.
And, like, the Japanese dub is very good. I listened to part of it just to make sure, like, I still really liked it, because I watched a couple of episodes. Obviously, I watched episode 15 subbed because that one wasn't released in North America.
Yeah, I remember that one.
I don't really know why. I'm not really sure why that wouldn't be released, but the episode with the kids and the bombs would be. Because they kind of have very similar, like, themes, in my opinion. And kind of execution and tone. They're kind of, like, goofy.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't dub that one. I remember, like, because I had, like... I bought the DVDs
director
of the
didn't
series.
want that one released in North America.
Huh?
But the director himself didn't want that one released in North America. He, like, didn't like it. And I'm like, why? I like that episode.
Yeah, because I remember having the DVDs, and I was, like... going through, and I had the, like, torrent on my computer as well before I bought the DVDs, because I'm a try before you buy kind of guy. And I was like, what the fuck? Why are the DVDs like an episode short? And then I found out that whole thing happened. I'm like, what the fuck? Weird. But yeah, I probably would give these movies like probably like if I take them on their own and don't include like
if I'm not comparing, I'm trying to not compare them to the series.
Yeah, I'm trying not to compare them to the series, and part of me always naturally wants to give a movie that's a compilation movie just like less points because it's just a compilation of like footage, but I don't know. Like, if I'm, like, trying to give these, like, let's say I didn't know it was a compilation series or anything, I would probably give, like, the first 2 an 8 and the third one a 9. But in comparison to the original series, I would say, like, these go down to, like, 6s and 7s. I would probably still leave the third one a 9, but that's only because I don't have any comparison.
So what's your score? Just to be clear.
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to give the first 2 7s, and I'm going to give the third an 8.
I'll give the first 2 7s, and I'll give the third a 9, just to be nice.
Okay.
Because I really like the events that happened.
Yeah, you should watch the last whatever episodes of Gundam then. Because they're amazing. Okay. I had fun though. I like watching Gundam. And I love watching that stupid fucking dome. Okay. So, your choices are Bruce Campbell or Spider-Man.
Oh, what the fuck? Hold on.
And one of these is probably going to be very bad. They're both trilogies.
Okay, so they're both trilogies. So I know what I know what the Spider-Man one is. I'm at least.
Are you sure?
I'm hoping I know what that is. I mean, the second you said Spider-Man, the first thing that came through my mind was like the Mark Webb Spider-Mans. But then you said a trilogy, and that wasn't a trilogy.
Yep.
I don't like that. Yup. But.
Yep.
Fuck, you're making me pick between, like, my 2 favorite things. I love Spider-Man and I love Bruce Campbell. I wish there was an option for the original trilogy, because it's the best of both worlds. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go...
The Spider-Man is kind of a trilogy. I'll leave it at that.
It's kind of a trilogy?
Yeah.
Then I'm going with the Bruce Campbell, because I feel like now that you've said that, it's going to be the Amazing Spider-Man movies and, like, one other Spider-Man thing.
You would have been correct, but it wouldn't have been The Amazing Spider-Man by Mark Webb. It would have been the 1977 The Amazing Spider-Man, which was...
The TV show?
Like, the TV pilot movie.
Oh, okay.
And then there was 2 films, like, that were episodes that were, like, multi-part episodes tied together and released as feature films.
God damn it.
I was going to make you watch those. But you picked Bruce Campbell, right?
Yeah.
So we're instead going to be watching Maniac Cop 1 through 3.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of these?
Yeah.
Okay. They're all by William Lustig. He also made Maniac. I can't remember if they're, like, somewhat related or not.
Maniac?
It doesn't really matter.
I don't think Maniac is related to Maniac Cop at all.
Okay. Because I don't know. Like, if I made a movie called Maniac and then later made a movie called Maniac Cop, I would probably make them.
I know Maniac's, like, about the guy who, like, cuts scalps off, like, women he murders and puts them on mannequins. Whereas Maniac Cop is like its own thing, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they have any crossover. They might have like a cameo from the Maniac character.
Maniac Cop, the first one, is available to buy or rent through Vudu. Maniac Cop 2 and 3 are both available for free on Tubi TV or Amazon Prime if you have a Prime membership.
Okay.
And I've heard decent things about the first 2, and I've heard the third sucks. So, should be pretty engaging.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty epic. Bruce Campbell it up. All right, off of the mecha anime, onto the shitty horror.
Woo! All right.
All right, thanks everybody for listening to another podcast episode. Thomas, what do you say?
Tell your grandmas.
Woo-hoo! All right, bye everybody.
Adios.